Hello, YouTubers. I want to welcome you to another edition of Park and Pin Gear. And I've got kind of a funny story to tell you. Now, as you know, I usually play a headless guitar right here. And the tuners are at the bottom. And right, the strings go here and then you lock them in. And I mean, I hadn't changed strings in a long time. I mean, we're talking a couple months at least, maybe 3 months. Not particular fan of, changing strings every couple days, like I know some people do. In any case, so what happened eventually is that, well, I couldn't get them in tune anymore. It turns out, as I played, I actually took a tuner, the snark, right, very important, connected it to the neck, and went through the strings. Turns out I was like, E flat instead of E, those kinds of things. And some of the strings were so off, like the G string would only go to F sharp, and that's if I tightened up the tuners as much as possible. So that wasn't going to work. So I got some new strings, two new strings, right? The G string and the E string. And, well, to unlock these, right, you need a hex key. And I'll show you that. I keep it in a little baggie. Well, now I do. There it is. Right, do you see that? It's kind of like a Floyd Rose, really. So anyway, you put that in there and turn it to unlock it. And this goes for changing strings as well. So without one of these, you're kind of SOL. Sure enough, by this time I had lost mine, the original one. Who knows where it is? And I spent hours looking for it. So I went to a music store and, said, hey, I need a, hex key. And, man, they looked at me like deer in headlights. They just kind of froze up and gave me a weird look and said, well, we don't have anything like that, And, I kind of wanted to find it locally, and not have to go through ordering it online and having it shipped to me. Though I could have done that, but it would have been a delay. So believe it or not, I went to a local grocery store, Kroger's. And believe it or not, they had a hex key set, right? And I looked on the back, and I believe that it had the one I was looking for. And I think it was a 2.5, maybe a 2, I don't know. So all excited, I got it home, right? And I pulled out the hex key. I thought it was the right size. And guess what? It turns out it was the wrong size. Right? So I could have really damaged the guitar by trying to use this hex key. Well, believe it or not, I lost the hex key. Right? I was about to use it, and I don't know what happened. It fell onto the ground somewhere. So I looked and looked for it, and man, I was just devastated that, well, guess what? I lost it. There's nothing to do, but the next day, well, I went back to Kroger's and I bought another set, right? And it was in buying this other set that I discovered that the one I had originally bought to use was the wrong size. For example, here's the set right here, okay? And I'd use this one, this big guy right there, thinking that was the right size. But it turns out, no, this is the wrong one. It is actually the fourth one over, right? Which I keep in the little baggie. Meaning that in reality, even though I lost this big one from the other set, right, it means that I actually have two of these fourth ones, right? Super. So as a result, I was able to basically get the new strings on and tune them up. So there you go. And kind of figured out a system to replace the strings on this guitar. It's a little intensive, really. And in fact, one thing that I discovered is that if a string breaks, a lot of times the ball joint, the little ball at the end of the string, will get stuck in the air, right? And the part that pulls out where you put the new string in won't come out all the way because of that old ball end is still in there. So you got to remove that first. And a lot of times I'll use something like this, a little tiny screwdriver, but it's microscopic, so I can pop that out of there. Anyway, so to make a long story short, I bought two of these sets when really I didn't need to, right? And even though I lost the one I was going to use, which was the wrong size anyway, and by the way, I still haven't found it. Turns out I needed the one next to it. But I didn't realize that till I had bought another set. Which is fine because now I've got two of them, which is great. It's so easy to set them down and kind of lose track of them. Wow, that's great. So, moral of the story is, besides being more careful than I was, is how